StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the value of the cold call. Before we get into this, I remind you all of two things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point, respectively, for your day or your week. Once we start sending those messages out again, which will be very soon, you'll be getting those straight to your phone. You'll actually be able to choose how often you get the messages from us once we start sending them out again. So what I want you to do right now is just text me so that we can have your information stored. So when we get that going again, we'll have everybody's info. We'll just let you know it's coming, and you can decide if you want to get it or not. Number to text is 305-384-6894. Just send a text to that number right now. We'll make sure we save everybody's info. And if we don't, we'll just text us again. All right, you can just send a text. It doesn't take that long. Again, that number's down below in the description. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. Over and work on Your Game University. I'm looking for the top 2% performance. I'm looking for people who are serious about up-leveling the mindset that is going to be required for you to do the things consistently that are going to lead you to changing your life. Whether we're talking your personal life, we're talking your business life, we're talking a combination of both, and anything that is in between that. If you're a type of person who is serious about those things, you already know if you are or if you're not. If you're that individual, I'm talking to you. I want you to go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description to this episode, wherever you're consuming this. And let's get to work, because time is short. Your time is even shorter than time itself is. And we don't have forever to get to what we want to get to. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Let's get into the topic here today, which is the value of cold calling. Now, cold calling is a thing that actually got me started in professional basketball, believe it or not. That is not the normal way you get into professional basketball, by cold calling anybody. Usually you just play basketball. Somebody who knows somebody, or somebody who has the power to help you get into your next spot. They see you, they like you, and then they say, all right, we're going to sign this guy or draft this guy, etc. That's the normal way to get into basketball. I did not get in the normal way simply because I came from a lower level of college basketball, which is the Division III level. And for people from my level to get seen, I knew I was going to have to do something other than just play. Now, it is true that some players from my same level did just play, and they did get an opportunity because maybe they were around somebody who knew somebody. It's a few and far between thing for people from my level. If you happen to be lucky enough. Like, for example, I was in Germany and I was talking to this guy. He was a former Division III player as well. He had played at a Division III school out in California. He was a couple of years younger than me, and I asked him, because we were just trading stories, like, how did you get on and how did I get on? And he said he got on because the athletic director or the assistant athletic director, one of those, at the college that he happened to go to, just happened to be from Germany. And the guy happened to work. He happened to be, like, he had two jobs. He happened to work in the management for a pro basketball team in Germany. So this kid was the best player on his college team, and the fucking athletic director worked for a pro team in Germany. And that's how he got into pro basketball. I was not that lucky. There was nobody from Germany working in the athletic department at my school. So I had to basically hustle my way in. The way that I got in was I cold called, not teams, but I actually cold called basketball agents, who are basically the people who know the teams. And I got an agent, and the agent got me on the team. So that's how I got started in pro basketball. And that was, and I mean, literally on the phone, calling agents who had no idea who I was and just pitching myself over the phone. That's how I got an agent. It's also how I got started in the professional speaking world, and something that I still do to this day. So when I started professional speaking about 10 years ago from when I'm recording this, I just started getting on the phone, calling events. I would find an event that looked like they might have speakers speak at the event. And I told them, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's what I can talk about. And I just kept calling people until somebody said, okay, we'll have you come speak at our event. And to be clear, most of the events that I spoke at when I first got started, they weren't paying me anything. They weren't even paying for my travel or anything. I paid for my own travel if there was any travel, or I would just go somewhere and speak with and receive no money in exchange. But I got the experience. I got to prove myself. I got to build up a little bit of a resume. And then that led to other opportunities that did include getting paid. And I actually still do cold calling for the consulting industry, we'll call it that, to this very day. So cold calling is an activity. What it means is, for those of you who don't know, is reaching out to a person or business who has no idea who you are, They are not expecting you. You are not on the schedule to be calling them, so they're not waiting for you to call. And you start up a conversation out of nowhere and look to create an opportunity for yourself with whoever it is that you're talking to. Cold calling, if you really think about it, using that framework that I just gave you, this applies if you're a guy going out to the bar. All right, you're cold calling the girls at the bar. It's not like they came to the bar looking for you. They didn't know that you existed until you walked up to her and said, hey, or whatever it is that you said. All right, so cold calling is something that applies, yes, in the business world. That's really what we're going to be talking about here today. But understand that cold calling applies in the life world as well. Anytime you're approaching someone who does not know you and was not expecting you, and you try to kind of create an opportunity out of nowhere, that is literally a cold call. Now, again, the cold call doesn't always work with every conversation, but it does when it's done consistently and it's done properly. Meaning, not every cold call is going to lead to an opportunity. Sometimes you're going to cold call and get no answer. Sometimes you're going to Sometimes you're going to cold call and somebody is not interested. And sometimes you're going to cold call and it seems like it's going somewhere, but then it goes nowhere. All right, that happens too. I want to make sure you understand. Just because you pick up the phone and dial a number, it doesn't mean something automatically is going to drop out of the sky. But it is a way to create momentum for yourself if there's nothing else going on. Even if there are other things going on, you may want to have this just as another thing that you have to give yourself multiple streams. So you hear how people say people who are financially well off often have multiple streams of income. Okay, so people who are doing a good job of drawing attention to themselves and their work and creating opportunities for themselves, or having many opportunities, they usually have multiple streams of opportunity, because you don't want to limit yourself to just one way. So if you're getting all your business, for example, from running Facebook ads, well, what if something happens to your Facebook advertising account, or you don't have any money for ads, or you just get kicked off of Facebook, or social media disappears, or your ads just stop working? If that's the only way you were getting business or generating opportunity, well, you have a problem. So if you have other means of drawing people in, cold calling being one of them, then again, if one line goes cold, pardon the pun here, then you have another way of making things happen. So you want to have as many ways as possible. Cold calling is just one way. Let's get into it. Point number one. Topic, once again, is the value of the cold call. 6 degrees to 0 degrees of separation. You remember the old idea, and some of you may think it's still a current one, called 6 degrees of separation? The general idea of that was that in between any two human beings, there are only 6 degrees, 6 basically contact points you had to go through to get from any one person to another person. So if I wanted to reach Barack Obama, I would only have to talk to one person, then another person, that's 3, then another one. Well, actually, the next one is 3 degrees, next one's 4 degrees, next one's 5 degrees, and eventually I could be in touch directly with Barack Obama, assuming I could get through with all of those people. 6 degrees just meant you're only 6 steps away from contacting any person on the planet. The world that we're in today is no longer 6 degrees of separation. All right, that was an old idea, because now, because of our social interconnectivity, those 6 degrees is now cut in half to about 2 or 3 degrees, maybe be less than half, about 2 or 3 degrees of separation. Because what we can do now is, now I can go find Barack Obama on X/Twitter and send him a direct message or respond to something that he posted, and hey, maybe he'll respond to it. Now, we know that may not be Barack Obama responding, but the whole point is I can get a lot closer to him a lot faster now than I would have to have done things, let's say 30 years ago, if I was trying to reach the president or a former president. And with cold calling, you can reduce that 2 or 3 degrees down to 1 degree, where you are going straight to the individual with whom you would like to connect. In other words, if Barack Obama had a phone number, I can just pick up the phone and just call his business's office. Who knows? Maybe Barack will answer the phone. All right, that's a 1 degree of separation, or 0 degrees of separation. I can send a direct message or a tweet, as I said, leave a comment on somebody's post. Even if they don't know me and never heard of me before, that 1 degree can get me straight to the individual. And hey, who knows? Again, as I said, they just might respond. So what cold calling does is it basically eliminates the middleman, and you don't have to go through a bunch of other people in order to get to any one individual. Now, as I said already, disclaimer, this is not an exact science, because not everybody allows themselves to be directly contacted. Barack Obama probably doesn't have a phone number out there that you can just call and talk to him if you wanted to, because he probably have too many calls, and he may want to keep those layers, as many of them as possible, in between him and everybody else. But the general idea here is that you don't have to go through all the steps of going through a bunch of intermediaries to get to most people, at least not as much as you used to. Now, Barack Obama may be a bad example here, because he probably still has all those intermediaries, but most people, I'm not even going to say the average person, but most people, even a person who is relatively well known, you can pretty much get to them. You don't have to go through 6 steps to get to them. And I've gotten to a lot of people who are really well known with at the most 2 degrees of separation, meaning I talked to one person, that one person talked to another person, and I was in touch with the main person. So it's really, literally 2 degrees. So all I had to do is go to a in-between person. So you can name a bunch of people who you know of online who have hundreds of thousands, millions of followers and are well-known people. Their names are all over the place. I know how to get in touch with the person who can get in touch with them, and I can be right in touch with that person the very next day, and often the same day. This is what cold calling allows you to do. At the same time, you got to have balls to actually make the call, and then you got to know what to say once you get on the call, whatever that. And again, a call could be an actual phone call. You can do this through email. You can do it through social media as well. We're going to get to that in a moment. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the value of the cold call. Number 2, direct and not passive. So when I say cold calling, I do literally mean getting on the phone and dialing a phone number. I happen to have a lot of friends who, when I'm talking to them and we're exchanging messages via text or DMs, they will say, or at least sometimes when we would first be communicating via text or DMs, they would say, look, why don't we just get on the phone? Or they'll just not even say that. They'll just call me. They'll just say, all right, we're sending all these texts, Dre. Why don't we just talk on the phone so we can have our conversation? This way, things will go a lot faster than just texting. And I like that because I tend to like to do things directly. I'd rather be direct when I'm dealing with a person than be passive. If I could, is like, for example, over here in our world at Work on Your Game, we send out a lot of emails every day. And I'm not talking about the emails that you all read, like when I send the articles out. I'm talking about emails that we send as far as marketing, as far as pitching, as far as looking to do collaborations, strategic business partnerships. We send out a ton of different emails, and we send follow-up emails, and we got a lot of emails that go out through our system based on doing that. But at the same time, if I could just have everybody's phone number, like all the people who I want to reach, if I could just have their phone number and know exactly who I'm trying to reach, and I could just go right down the line, just dial, and do 100 outbound phone calls every single day, I would do that instead of sending emails. And why is that? A couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of people don't want to get on the phone, meaning other people who may want to meet with these people as well. They don't want to get on the phone, so I can basically jump to the front of the line by being willing to do this. Another thing is I can get much quicker and direct information from a person, whether they're interested or not, or whether they see some opportunity here, whatever it is that I'm pitching. I can find that out in 10 minutes on a phone call, whereas I might need to send 3 or 4 emails, and then there's the back and forth, and then this person's assistant got to talk to my assistant, and all this. There's all this paperwork and all this paperwork pipeline and email threads and all this shit. It makes it real messy when we could knock this whole thing out by just having a direct conversation. I prefer being direct. Cold calling is a way to get direct with a person instead of, again, going to passive and indirect ways, which is what most people do. So while technically it could be a cold call, just going by the concept of it, to send a DM or a tweet or leave a comment on somebody's post or an email, these are technically, you can call them cold calls. When I say cold calling, I would suggest you actually get on the phone, find a person's phone number, and get on the phone with them. All right, this is a much faster way to get to whatever you want, whatever the conclusion is going to be. Even if the conclusion is a no, all right, you want to know that the answer is no right now, instead of waiting 3 weeks and send a bunch of DMs and you get a lot of hemming and hawing and you don't know what the answer is. So when it comes to, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to success, achievement, and growth, make sure that you don't find yourself doing the same thing that most people do. Most people, when they want to get in touch with a person, they get as passive as they can be. They'll, again, things we can do passively these days are numerous. Emails, DMs, text messages, comments, etc. Those are all passive. Why? Because a person can receive your email, text, DM, or comment, see it, look at it, think about it, but not say anything to you until 3 weeks later. Right? Because they saw it, you gave it to them, but you put the ball in their court, and now they don't have to respond if they don't want to. If you call somebody and they answer, well, they can't take 3 weeks to respond back to you on the phone, because eventually you'll say, hello, you still there? And they got to answer right there on the spot. So a phone call allows the conversation to advance much more rapidly, and you get a direct answer from a person. And you want to do what most people will not do. Most people won't do this. Even as I'm telling you all about this, most of you who are listening to this will not get on the phone and just call somebody, even though you have their phone number. Most of you will send somebody a text message or a email, even though you have their phone number, and getting on the phone will get you whatever you're looking for a lot faster than sending that email. But you'll send an email anyway. All right, don't do what most people do. Most people would rather be indirect. I'd rather knock on your door or call you on the phone or just walk into your office. All right, remember, folks, that the shortest route between any 2 points is a straight line. The shortest route between any 2 points is a straight line. Cold calling is a straight line. Most people, again, are passive. Why? Because passivity has lower risk And if you are rejected going the passive route, like if I send you an email and you reply to me no, well, it's a pretty passive way to be told no. And it's an indirect no. It doesn't bother me as much as if I called you on the phone and you said no, or I walked into your office and you said no right to my face. That's a whole different type of no. All right. Even though I'm reaching out, either way, I'm reaching out. But the whole point is it doesn't hit as hard. Cold calling puts you in a position to be outwardly and directly rejected. And most people are so afraid of that rejection that they'd rather be passive, even if it means slowing down the deal flow and the momentum of conversation. But it also positions you to win quickly and immediately. Remember, the only way to position yourself to win is to risk losing. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, we're talking the value of the cold call. Number 3, you get to skip the line. I just mentioned this a moment ago. 6 degrees of separation meant you had to go through 5 other people to get to a person you wanted to reach. But now, if you adopt the mindset of cold calling, you can jump in front of everybody who's in line and just short circuit that entire process. You jump to the front of the line in front of everybody who's not willing to get on the phone, you can do it. So I guarantee you, all those agents that I was trying to reach back in the summer of 2005 to start my pro basketball career, a lot of them were getting emails from players who were about my same level. And based on the eye test, maybe that agent couldn't have told the difference between me and them as far as skill level. I think I was better. Every basketball player does. But the thing that allowed me to jump to the front of the line was the fact that I was willing to get on the phone. I was able to get direct with those people. And instead of being one of the 50 emails in that agent's inbox, I was the one player on his phone log. Everybody understand this? This is what I mean by skipping the line. So if you adopt the mindset of doing this, you can jump to the front of a whole bunch of lines yourself. And again, with the caveat, just because you jump to the front of the line does not mean you're getting in. All right, they still might tell you no. I still cold call people to this day and still get told no to this day, but also get told yes. All right, so this is the risk that you're taking when you do it. It's not a guarantee of success, but it does allow you direct engagement, which is what you want. And you can still use the other route in addition to this. You can still send an email. I'll call somebody, give them a voicemail, and then I send them an email as a follow-up. Hey, I just left you a voicemail because I just called your office. I'm sending this email to follow up. I'll do both. All right, why not? And if you're a salesperson, folks, and you're looking to create success now, cold calling needs to be part of your repertoire. This is not a suggestion. This is not an option. This is a must if you're a serious salesperson. And a salesperson's job is to sell things. And the quickest way to sell something is have a direct conversation with the person, period. That's it. Let's recap today's class, which is the value of cold calling. Again, I told you this got me started in pro basketball, got me started in the professional speaking world. I don't do cold calls to get basketball agents anymore because I don't play, but I do still do cold calls when it comes to the consulting business, still to this very day, in addition to other routes that we use to get ourselves out there. The whole point of a cold call is reaching out to someone who's never heard of you, doesn't know you, is not expecting you, and you strike up a conversation to see where you can take things. I have a friend, as a matter of fact, I need to call them back later on this afternoon. The way that I met them was through a cold call. I heard them on the show and they were talking some business stuff. And I said, you know what, I got some things I could offer this person that could help them out. I cold called them and we built a relationship based off of that. And this is something, again, I've done this many times in business, still do it to this day. Point number 1, 6 degrees to 1 degree or 0 degrees of separation. So instead of having to go through 5 different people to get to a person, you can go straight to that person these days because a lot of us make ourselves very available and very reachable via our social interconnectivity. So you don't have to wait a long time or go through a bunch of middlemen in order to get to anybody. Most people. Number 2, direct and not passive. All right, most people like to do things passively because one reason, people are lazy. Number 2, people like the fact that it's a slower process. And number 3, people want to avoid rejection. If you can get over these 3 things that most people have as afflictions, you can start using cold calls and get directly to the point, even if the point is no. Number 3, skip the line. As I mentioned already, 6 degrees of separation meant you had to go through all these other people. Now you can just jump to the front of the line because you're willing to do something that most people are not willing to do because most people are lazy, most people are slow, and most people want to avoid rejection. So if you could just don't be lazy, be fast, and don't worry about being rejected because it's just part of the game, then you got a chance to win a lot more. That said, text me so you're on my text community. Numbers down below in the description. Also, workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link's down below in the description here as well. If you are serious about your goals, you're serious about reaching your highest heights when it comes to your personal life and your professional and business life, and you want to do it now and not later. I just told you, people are slow and people want to do things passively. If that's not you, you're the opposite of those things, then go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Look at people who want to be in the top 2% of what they do and not only be there, but stay there. Work on your game. Dre, all